Over the last 10 years, I've created my exotic garden here in West Yorkshire. But now it's time for a big change. Over the next year and a half, I'm going to completely revamp the garden, starting at the back where everything is quite large with the eucalyptus, the palm trees and the tree ferns. That area is going to be completely changed. In the middle, where we've got the gravel paths and the arid area, we're going to extend those paths and make more use of the arid plants in that space. And then here in the first half of the garden, where I've got my big tropical beds with annual colour, things are definitely going to change and probably not how you expect it to be. Here we are towards the end of the garden. We've gone past the arid beds, the gravel path stops here, and underneath I'm on some more decking. Behind me we've got decking and then an open space beyond, and then we've got the fields behind that. And this area is what's going to be changed a lot this year, and I'm going to show you step by step how I do that this year. But now it's time to have a little walk through this part of the garden to see what changes I'm going to make, if I can get past all this bamboo. So here we are at the end of the garden. We've got the fields beyond, eucalyptus trees above, quite a big open space here. But in front of me, we've got those decking paths that we used to cover tree stumps when we put the paths in about 10 years ago. And we've got my tree fern area, which is very congested. So we'll have a closer look at these areas now and how we're going to make some changes. So this is an area of the garden that we're going to redevelop over the next year or so. And that is the end of the garden where we've got this beautiful boutia on the right, bamboos behind it, eucalyptus trees behind that, and tree ferns beyond. And we've got the end of the gravel path going into the wooden path. And it's going to be these wooden paths that we're going to be taking up, having a look what's underneath, because we did have lots of tree stumps there 10 years ago. Hopefully those will have rotted down a bit. That's the way the paths go, over those stumps, to make it was easier to get those paths in rather than digging up the stumps. And we're going to be taking up some of the paths and not replacing them. So the path going across, the wooden path there where the Brea Marta is, it's not really used now anyway because the plants have got so big, so that will be dug up, and that is under planting space. And all this path will be taken up, like I said, and then extending the gravel path so that we're going closer to that bamboo. So we've got enough space to go underneath the boutia, because as I go now, you'll see that it is quite tight to go between both. And then this path here, again, this will be all taken up, and we'll take the path probably further around to the left through that choice here there. And then the path will come through, and then we've got decisions to make about what the path, where it will go at this point, because at the moment we've got the tree ferns down there, and I will be moving these tree ferns. I'll be digging these up so that we can actually enjoy them more. At the moment they're all sort of squashed together in this corner. Yes, there is a path through there, but it's pretty impossible to get through there when they're in full leaf, so I can't really enjoy that part of the garden. So I'm going to dig up the tree ferns, and then a path will come through this area and go round. At the moment we've got this wooden path down here. Again, this will be all dug up underneath. This is where I had a line of silver birch trees, so we'll see how much work we'll have to remove the tree stumps underneath it. Hopefully they've rotted down nicely over the last 10 years. And at the end of the garden here, we've got this big open space where I was going to have a cabin or some sort of seating area. That's why I left this open for the last 10 years. But I think what we'll do now is actually plant up this area. If we just turn around, we'll plant up this area, but I'm not certain exactly how it will flow through here yet. So that is where the wooden path will be replaced between those palm trees and a bamboo. The path will come round here. It will come through to where we are now, circle back round, and then the path will go through here, join up with the gravel path just in the distance there. And we're going to change the planting in this area, because at the moment there's lots of big palm trees which are great, the eucalyptus, the tree ferns, and I do want it to be secluded, this area, but I might open up a little bit more by moving the tree ferns in this area. And then up there I've got the huge eucalyptus trees, which acts as a fantastic canopy up there. It does mean the ground here is relatively dry, and you can see the huge roots that are pushing up the weed suppressing membrane in this area from the eucalyptus trees. We've got lots of rubble down there as well, so we've got lots to do, because we're going to take up all these paths. We're going to bring lots and lots of topsoil into this area to raise the level up again, another 20-30 centimetres, like we have with all that area there. And all these beds are much higher than the level we're standing on here. You can see that wood there, that's about 20-25 centimetres. So we've got lots of soil to bring in this area. And this is right at the end of the garden, so it's a long way to bring everything. And then we'll start sort of potentially trimming back some of these palm trees, maybe the bamboos as well, and really changing the feel of this area. I think by moving the tree ferns, dotting them around here, having a nice path come round and then joining up, it'd be a nice circular flow around the garden, whereas now you can come round and you have to sort of truncated walk away round, rather than coming further down more naturally around this area, because at the moment you don't really get to see the tree fern area because it's all sort of intermingled in one, and we don't get to use this area. So this is more space for more planting potential, but still giving it a nice open path as well. And as we look up, the sun's starting to shine, so I think it's time to actually start doing some work, ripping up all this woodwork that I did and seeing what lies underneath. Now we're here in the middle part of the garden, just over the bridge and by the beautiful Jubaeachensis palm tree, and behind me we've got the arid paths, the arid beds, the gravel going round, and also we've got some beds either side that we're going to change this year. So I'm going to give you a closer look at what the plans are for this middle part of the garden. So as we go over the bridge, we've got the wonderful Jubaea palm in the centre dominating this part of the garden, the gravel areas around it, and we've got the gravel paths either side which we did, and these are surrounded by cortine steel, and you can see it sort of goes all the way around and down to the next part of the garden. But the area between there and where I am standing now, we've still got the old wooden paths, the decking paths that we put in, and this is what I want to change, because I want to continue this beautiful cortine steel, and I want it to come across here and then meet up with the bridge off in that direction. And this will give me more planting space, because here where we've got a palm tree, we've got the trachycarpus, we've got the Fatsia polycarpa and the hedge. Here we've got a small bed here with just annual bedding goes in there, and that Nephophia. We're going to actually take this edge in, continue it around here. So this will be a gravel path, but that means all that area there can be a nice planting spot. So we're taking up all this here, and it means we can put some new soil in this area and plant it up with some lovely plants. There is some issues in this area, namely the fact that the pump for the waterfall, which I've just turned off so you can hear my voice for this video, but the pump for the waterfall actually goes through this decking path and then it goes under the bridge. So I'm going to have to think how I'm going to manage that tubing and the power that goes through there. So I'm going to have to come up with a safe system of having that pipe in there so I don't dig through it when I'm planting up this area. So that's this side, and this is going to be the more shady side. And then as we come to the other side, the much sunnier side, it's pretty much a mirror image. So we'll bring the path from this point, curving it around and matching up and going across the bridge. And that will leave again a planting area where this path is here. And again, I've got my wiring for the pump coming under here, and I've also got a pipe going under here and some electric, so I'm going to have to be careful of that. But it means I'm going to have again a nice planting space in this area which is in full sun, so we'll be able to plant up this new spot and then continue the path round. So I think that'll look really nice when you come off the bridge, and you'll have a nice gravel path where you can go around to your left and follow it around the garden, or you can go around to your right and follow it that way, and we'll have that continuous same golden gravel, nice cortine steel which is weathering nicely here. We can follow that round, have that beautiful curve, have new planting spots, and I think it will really look good in this part of the garden, showing off obviously the Rubea Chalentis in the middle part. Now for the main tropical area of the garden, the first half, which doesn't look great in winter in February as we're filming this, apart from nice blue bamboo and the palm trees. Got all the summer colour yet to come from underground, all the dahlias, the gingers and cannas to emerge in spring, covered in a nice mulch of spent mushroom compost and manure here. But this area is going to see the biggest change over the next couple of years. What's going to happen this year is, yes, we're going to have some tropical colour from those plants in the ground, but we're going to grow lots of vegetables. So we will have lots of vegetables in this area, especially on this side where it's in much more sun. So we'll have the summer squashes, we'll have the cucumbers. Use all this space and allow them to grow around the bamboos, up and around structures, and then we'll be able to have the colour of the cannas and dahlias mixed in with the vegetables. So that is a bit of a change, and that is stage one of the master plan of this area, because we've got this path, you can see in winter, going round. The gingers have started pushing the path apart in places, as you can see in the middle there, and we're going to change this area. At the height of summer, everything is over head height here. It's an absolute mass of foliage and flowers, but it can be quite overwhelming, even though the path is a good metre wide going through here. So we've got these big planting beds. So if you enjoy all that big foliage, it's fantastic, but it means you sort of have to go through this area to get to the jungle hut or to go down the garden. And it's not, you know, an open space by any means. It is very much an enclosed jungle in this area. So this part of the garden, we are going to completely redesign, myself and my family. So we're going to make it so it's more of a family space, more open. So this central area is going to be widened. Don't think we're going to get a lawn back here, but we'll probably have some sort of paving, or maybe we'll have the wood chip in the centre, but a much open space so that you can walk through past all the palm trees, and you can walk towards the jungle hut past the Schefflera there, but you've got a much more open space. So that is quite a difference, quite a big difference to what we have now. So it'll still be a jungle garden here, but we'll have all the plants either side, but with a much more open space in the centre for getting down the garden and sort of being able to step back and being able to breathe around the plants rather than being overwhelmed by the plants all around, which is, it's a great experience if you're spending some time going through the garden. But if you're in the garden for a long time and you want to sort of slow down and be able to see everything, having a more open space will probably work better. So we're going to change the garden. We're going to make that change over the next year or two. We'll have the vegetables this year along with the flowers, and then next year we'll open this up and we'll change the structure and change these paths. That's a good thing. Why? I've used wood in the past, so it's pretty easy to change these paths. Yes, it's still going to be a lot of hard work, but it means it won't be as hard as if I had very expensive paving down or concrete or anything like that. So you'll see these changes in my upcoming videos. These three sections of the garden. So we've got the tree fern area at the top, we've got the arid section in the middle, and then we've got the exotic garden, jungle garden, for the jungle hut that we're going to see all those changes. And obviously, because I'm doing all these things, it means I'm going to have to change what I normally do in summer. So that means for 2025 season, this year, I will not be opening my garden for the National Garden Scheme because I've got a lot of landscaping jobs to do, and I really won't have time to get all those changes done this summer in a relaxing way before the open day. So I'm going to postpone it. We'll open the garden hopefully in 2026, but it does mean a year off from opening my garden for charity. And it means I won't have to rush. Like I said, I'll be able to do all my planning and being able to move everything on my days off, being able to get the garden how I want it rather than rushing and cutting corners trying to get for a specific date. So that's changing three big areas of the garden, which is going to cost money and definitely cost time, and really got to plan out what everything's going to go to make it right. And these changes might just take this summer, or it might go into 2026 over winter, depending how much free time I get to make all these changes in the garden. Like I said, this year we're going to enjoy growing a bit more vegetables in the exotic garden here, and we're going to work on the end of the garden first, which is probably going to be the most work, then the arid part, and then the jungle exotic part of the garden. So join me as I'll be making these changes. I'll be making videos as I go along, seeing all the preparation, any things that come in the ground that I'm not expecting when I start digging up some paths and decking, and you'll see how I plant up the new beds and borders as well, and see if I enjoy the changes, because you know, until you've done the changes, until the plants have acclimatized and got used to that space, I don't know if it's going to be exactly how I want it to be. And gardens are always evolving, so even after making these changes, I'm sure there's other things I'll want to do in the garden. So join me in my weekly videos as we make the changes to my exotic garden here in West Yorkshire.